Now, what was the first thing that you did as Future Lagos?
So the first thing I worked on when I moved back to Lagos was a project in Makoko. So Makoko is a community that lives on water. You can see it from the longest bridge that we have in Lagos, which links the mainland to the island. And so it's a community that have a lot of issues. They're a poor community. And they also have a lot of health issues as well as environmental issues. And they're under threat because the government doesn't really believe that they should be there because this is prime land, one, and also it's an environmental hazard and it's a visual hazard as well when you're coming into Lagos. So the first project was really about how to regenerate that space to look more appealing and also to help the community to live a better life. So we started working on that. It took 2 years. We worked with the community, different groups, the fishermen, the women, the market women, the people the ballers, who are like the kings of the community. And while working with them, we learned a lot of stuff about how they actually work together as a group, as well as what kind of court system they have, which is very interesting because it's not the same as the kind of democratic idea of how Lagos is run. We then presented the regeneration plan to two different ministries, the Ministry of Environment as well as the Ministry of Urban Planning. It was a great project. I think the community also had a great time doing it and learning about how to design a city in a way. But I mean, it's up to them in terms of what they now do with it. So, yeah.
And you were also involved in the Playable City project.
Yeah, so last year, the Playable City project started with a bit of research on how you can play within a city and how this play can also generate ideas on urban design or how to live in a city better. So also using technology. So the idea is how do we play, use technology and also have a discussion with our environment or with our spaces. So on all different levels, you know, from the everyday man that goes to work on the BRT bus. Yeah. So we work from different people from all different levels of society, from the everyday man that takes a Moluwe bus, and a Moluwe bus is a cheaper bus that anybody can take. And then, you know, people who drive every day as well, you know, drive to work in their kind of bigger Land Rover type cars. So we looked at everybody on all scales. And then we worked with different techies or creatives to think of ideas of how these playable interventions can happen in the city.
And you're about to do a project now for Heinrich Böll Stiftung, which is about cycling and cycleways. Tell me what is happening in Lagos around that.
So it's a great project because I think it's something that needs to start happening. We need to start having these discussions about non-motorized transport. I mean, we are already having the discussion about climate change, especially within more of a higher level conversation, but then how do we implement this and what does this mean for the everyday person? So these kind of conversations need to happen, and what we've done so far is we had a workshop 2 weeks ago or so, just with the different ministries as well as people who already do cycle in the city and the difficulties they face, how they actually do cycle. Is it for leisure? Is it for actually, you know, commuting? And then the next level is to actually think about a workshop. So working with students because they've already started designing cycle lanes and designing cycle spaces within Lagos.
And there's been a pilot cycleway, hasn't there?
So Lamata, which is the transport agency in Lagos, they've actually done an experiment. They did it near Alausa, which is in Ikeja. It's not a very busy area, but it is an area that is a residential area. It also has a government house sitting quite close to it. So it's a great idea. But however, I don't think they implemented it as well as they could to get the right results or to get results in the first place because they didn't educate the people who lived there. They didn't let them know they were even doing this cycle lane or how long it will be there for or how to use it or when not to use it, when to use it, or the people who drive in that area as well.
If you were to change 3 things about Lagos, what do you think the 3 most important things to change would be if you could wave a magic wand?
I think the first thing is to let people know that they have a voice, because I think that's really a big thing that's missing. A lot of people talk within themselves about the issues they face, but they don't then take this to the higher level and say, well, actually, we need it to be changed. We need someone to change this. So that's one thing I would definitely change. The second thing would probably also be an understanding that we are not the government. So we don't need to do everything ourselves. We don't need to, put power into our homes. Actually, this is supposed to be a responsibility of an organization and not an individual. So I think that's another thing. The third thing, I'm not sure what I would change. I think those are the two things, really.
Yeah. What is happening in terms of changing transport in the city?
So La Matera is the agency that deals with transport, and they have various different projects under their belt, which they've started, like the light rail project, the BRT buses, another train service as well as the cable car. Yes, exactly, which I think is quite weird. But they said it's going to work. I did ask, and they've assured me it's going to work. But the light rail is going to run from Apapa, which is close to the next city, and then it goes into the main like CBD of Lagos. So at the moment they've gotten through most of it. I think there's probably about 40% to build, but that's just the actual infrastructure. There's obviously who's going to run it, how's it going to work, and those kind of things going to happen.
So it's a way off.
I think so. I think it's a way off. Maybe end of next year.
Yeah.